Hi, everybody. Welcome to another adventure in the podcast From Adversity to Awakening, Transforming Hardships into Greater Spiritual Connection and Joy. And I have the Queen of Happiness with us today, Miss Marci Shimoff. Here she is. Da, 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 da. And you guys will be blown away when you hear her list of accomplishments, which I will read in a moment. Hi, Mars. I'm so glad
Hi,
you're here.
Peg. So great
Hi,
always
sweetie.
to get to be with you.
Yeah. Well, Marcy and I went to college. We got a long history, and she is the one who introduced me to speaking and helped me find my gifts of gab and my gifts of inspiring and teaching and all of that. So, many, many infinite blessings for you, Marcy.
Well, Peg, it was certainly easy to find your gift of gab because it's truly you have it and you're on the planet to share it and to share your wonderful heart.
Thank you. If my cursor now would appear, that would be good. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marcy. Get ready for this. She is the #1 New York Times bestselling author, a world-renowned transformational teacher, and an expert on happiness, success, and unconditional love. Marcy's books include the runaway bestsellers Happy for No Reason, Love for No Reason, and 6 titles from the phenomenally successful Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul series. Her books have sold, okay, get this, not 2 million, not 10 million, but 16 million copies worldwide in 33 languages, have topped all the major bestsellers lists, and have been on the New York Times bestseller for a total of 121 weeks. I mean, who does that? Nobody. So, needless to say, she's one of the best-selling female nonfiction authors of all time. Marcy, you're so amazing. So she has a PBS show called Happy for No Reason, or she's hosted the PBS show, sorry, and she's featured teacher in The Secret, which was, a runaway grand success. And she also narrated for the movie Happy. Marcy currently hosts a podcast called Living in the Miracle Zone, which you guys should definitely tune in to if you want to learn about living in the miracle zone. And she also teaches a program. It's worldwide. It's taught in, it reaches people in 80 countries. It's called Your Year of Miracles, has thousands of participants for living a life of miracles. Marcy is a miracle, and we are so glad to have her. She's inspired millions of people around the world and is dedicated to helping people live more miraculous, empowered, and joy-filled lives. Marcy, you are a phenomenon, and I am so grateful and blessed to have you with us today to tell your story of overcoming the adversity and how you came to be an expert on joy and happiness.
Well, there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now than with you and getting to share this. And,
And
we've
who
come
reads
a,
your bio like that?
well, we've come a long way, baby, haven't we, Peg?
We
As,
have.
as Peggy said, we went to college together. We've known each other since we were 18 years old, and we have been on this journey together. So I'm so proud of you and all that you do. You're awesome.
Thank you, sweetie. Okay, so let's get started. Why don't you start by telling us of one or more of your greatest adversities and how those impacted you in your life?
Yeah. So I've got to go to the biggest adversity, which is that I was born depressed. I came out of the womb with what I call existential angst. I had great parents. I had all the right circumstances. I should have been happy according to, what you think of as happy. And I was depressed from the get-go. I actually now think that I probably either had ancestral trauma that I was carrying or past life PTSD, something,
Yeah.
because it just didn't make sense. But I remember as a kid walking around with a dark cloud around me. I just felt awful. And my solution to feeling awful as a kid was something called sugar. So I became a sugar addict. It was the only time I could temporarily feel okay. But that didn't work very well. By the time I was in high school, I was about 35 pounds overweight.
Whoa.
And yeah, my mom used to have to padlock the freezer so I wouldn't go in and steal and eat cartons and cartons of ice cream.
Wow.
And so in my 20s, Peg, I decided that I was going to get happy finally. And I did what most people do. I set goals for myself.
Mhm.
And I figured that once I got those goals, that then I'd finally be happy. And I'll share them with you. You know them because you know my story, but I'll share them with everybody because I
Want to
think
be a New York Times bestseller, PBS host, and
well,
have
here's what I
and
want.
have a program that reaches 80 countries in the world. Okay.
No, I wanted to have a successful career helping people. I wanted a wonderful husband or life partner. I wanted fabulous friends, of which you are one.
Thank you.
And I wanted a
7 million.
comfortable home, and I wanted the equivalent of Halle Berry's body. So I got 4 out of the 5. I don't have Halle Berry's body, but I have a healthy body for which I am very grateful. And as you know, I worked super hard to get all my ducks in a row so that I would be happy.
Yeah.
And I had a turning point moment. It was in 1998, and I had all those things working for me. And I had 3 books in the top 5 on the New York Times bestseller list at the same time. I had just given a speech to 8,000 people. I had autographed 8,000 people, and I'd autographed 5,432 books. My client had a massage therapist massaging my hand so I could keep on signing. And on one hand, I felt like an author rock star.
You were.
But I remember walking up to my hotel room after I signed that last book. It was the penthouse suite. I was in Chicago, and I walked over to these huge windows overlooking Lake Michigan. And I looked out at that big view on top of the world. And I turned around and I collapsed onto the bed and I burst into tears. And I burst into tears because I realized I had everything I thought I needed to be happy. And that emptiness that I felt as a kid, I still had. And that's when I realized this is the end of the road. I can't fool myself into thinking that just that next accomplishment or thing that I get is going to do it for me, because it would do it for me for a little bit. But, then, a month, 2 months, you're happy about something, and then it would go away. And so I dove headfirst into the research and the study of happiness. And I started applying the things I was learning. I interviewed happy people. I did what they were doing, and it worked. And that was really the time when I had the biggest turnaround in my level of happiness and well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the fact that you collapsed on the bed was the awakening. It was the awakening that the story that you've been told is not true. It's the awakening that it takes something more than a placard on your wall or being on the bestsellers list that actually has you have an experience of bliss inside your body.
You are
So,
exactly right. You are exactly right. It's this societal myth of happiness.
yeah.
The happiness is out there, and that when I get that, I'm going to have it. And if money and success and fame were the keys to happiness, we'd have a lot more happy people in Hollywood. And clearly we don't. And I thank God that I wasn't born with the high happiness gene, because it wouldn't have brought me to the work that I'm doing on the planet that I know is my work to be doing. Who's going to listen to somebody that goes, "Oh, just be happy," that was already born happy? It's a lot more compelling to hear about it from somebody who was born depressed and spent a lot of her years depressed, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you did
Yeah.
and
Well, there were a bunch.
uh
I found that there were 21 main happiness habits, and I found that they fell into 7 main areas.
mhm.
And you know what, why don't I go through those 7 main areas just briefly and explain them? Because what I find is that wherever your Achilles heel is,
Yeah,
that's where you need to focus.
right.
And everybody has a different Achilles heel. So should I just do a quick little overview of that,
Sure,
Peg?
sure. That'd be fun.
Okay. And here's what I want everybody to do as they listen to this. I want you to think about, where are you the weakest? And Peg, I'm going to put you on the spot at the end of this and see where you're the weakest in
Okay,
terms of happiness.
sure.
What they found is that the only difference between happy people and everybody else is that happy people have different habits. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, so the habits, they fall into the 7 main areas. I know it's hard for people to remember 7 of anything, so I created an analogy. I call it building your inner home for happiness. And a home has 7 main components. It's got a foundation, 4 corner pillars, a roof, and a garden. And here's how that relates to these 7 habits or areas. The foundation is taking responsibility for your life and your happiness. It's showing up as a victor in life and not a victim. You know you're a victim when you're blaming, shaming, and complaining. Blaming others for your unhappiness. I can't be happy because my husband is blah, whatever. Shaming, which is blaming yourself, or complaining, which is blaming the circumstances or your environment. So that right away, if you're any of those, that's where you need to start on
Life
your
is happening for me, not to me.
Exactly.
No
Exactly.
matter how bad it gets, life
That's
is
right.
happening for me.
For me.
Yeah.
And then there's the 4 pillars, and the 4 pillars are the pillar of the mind, your thoughts, the pillar of the heart. I've never met a happy person who had a closed heart. So are
Right.
you, loving, forgiving, generous, kind to others and yourself? So you can include yourself in that. Then there's the pillar of the body. Do you have the biochemistry of happiness?
Mm.
Do you have the
Big thing.
endorphins and serotonin and oxytocin and dopamine? And by the way, that's where my Achilles heel was, and that's where I needed to focus first, because that was the place of weakness.
Yeah, and that could really take you down a rabbit hole. I mean, that's like a lot of science and a lot of practice and a lot of
Yeah,
micro management kind of little things to your diet and things to your this and
right.
that. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so go ahead.
And then there's the pillar of the soul, and that's your spiritual connection. Then there is the roof to your home of happiness, and the roof is your passion or purpose in life. Are you living an inspired life? Are you doing what you are here on this planet, which I know you are, Peg.
Yes.
And then finally, there's the garden, and the garden is who are you surrounded by? Do you have a lot of roses and gardenias, the people who uplift you and inspire you and who
Great.
make you believe in yourself?
Yeah.
Or do you have some weeds, the people that are choking out your happiness? And I have been very fortunate from the time when we were in college together that I have a beautiful garden of amazing friends and people who really do, like you, who really do uplift and inspire me. So I want everybody to look at where are you the weakest, the foundation, taking responsibility for your happiness, your mind, which is your thoughts, do those drag you down, your heart, which is your feelings, your body, your biochemistry, your soul, are you spiritually connected, the roof, which is your purpose or passion, and the garden, which is your relationships and friends. So Peg, I'm going to put you on the spot. Where are you the weakest?
I would have to say that it's my thoughts because I have so much information coming to me that something's wrong with me.
Yes.
By the way people have responded to me and my physical difference throughout my life, that has been the most, and people telling me you're not going to do this because you're can't do this, can't do that because you're a little person. And that's definitely been the most challenging for me.
And yet that's been the thing that you have said, the adversity that you have overcome, where you've said, I can do this. I
For
can,
sure.
I mean,
I mean, 4 most powerful words in the English language. I can do it.
I
Like
can do it.
that's my mantra. And I've done it. I've scuba dived and parasailed and ski and skate and done all the stuff.
And done it all well. And you're
Thank
an
you.
amazing photographer. Peggy graduated from photography school
Yeah.
and does phenomenal photography, and then speaking and
Speaking.
podcasts and coaching people. And, you really have shown yourself and everyone that you can do it. And I know that those thoughts, those patterns, we have for the average person, 80% of our thoughts in a given day are negative.
Yeah.
And so
And
we
then
have to work on that.
definitely. And there's also the unconscious stuff and the subconscious stuff,
Right.
that actually
Exactly.
weighs on me. And it's taken a lot of, sessions with guides and helpers and spiritual teachers to unearth those and bring light to them to see that they're false beliefs, that I am lovable, that I am capable, that I am, period.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
sentence.
Yeah.
So Mars, how the soul and your spiritual connection is one of those pillars, and that's what we like to talk about on this podcast. So would you share with us about how the like I think of it as like the adversity, you work on it, you have some greater understandings and awarenesses that often tend to be connecting with a higher being or connecting deeper to nature or some part of yourself, which gives you ability to do other things better, especially connect with others and experience more joy. So, how would you say that your journey of finding happiness has supported not just becoming more happy, but well, maybe the question is, did becoming more happy was your spiritual connection part of becoming more happy?
Yeah. So, such a great question. You know, I think that ultimately the spiritual connection is the most important of them all for everybody.
Yes, me too.
Unless we feel connected spiritually, that is where unhappiness comes from. It comes from feeling that we aren't connected. Now, I, as you did, started meditating at a very young age.
Mhm.
And that was fabulous and wonderful, but it didn't do all of it for me.
Me
It
too.
didn't handle for me, for example, the physical side, that once I started handling the biochemistry, I actually started having greater spiritual breakthroughs. So
Great.
I think it all really works together. But if you were to ask me, out of all of the people that I've interviewed on happiness, what's the most important? I'd say by far the spiritual. Because if we don't feel our connection to all of life, then that's where depression is. That's, ultimately.
Do you have a peak experience, an opening
Yeah.
experience, awakening experience that you could share where that came in for you in a strong
Yes,
way?
absolutely. So and it started with an adversity. So, everything great that's happened in my life has come from adversity to breakthrough.
We
So,
often find that if we look long enough,
yes, I mean, truly, I
and
think that
honestly enough, and honestly enough.
we're this life is a school. We're in school and we're here to learn our lessons. So the adversity comes, that's your curriculum, and you learn the lesson, and that's your spiritual breakthrough. So that's kind of the way I see life and all of this. Well, I will tell you that and I'll tell you a story that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to
Okay.
because it's a breakup story.
Okay.
So in 1987, now Peggy's one of those friends who's known me through pretty much every boyfriend. Those friends that go way back. 1987, I had a
Haven't
boyfriend.
been that many of them. You stayed with them for a
Yeah,
long.
I tend to do long term, and then I've been with Sergio for 25 years almost. So,
Exactly.
but back in 1987, I had been dating a man named Bob for 2 years, and Bob is a great guy. And I loved Bob, and we had a nice, wonderful relationship,
Is
except
Bob his real name? Because you're saying it like his name is
oh yeah, no, his real
fictitious
name is
Bob.
Bob. His real name is Bob.
Okay.
So yeah. So, and he knows I tell this story. He's a dear friend still. Um, so anyway, he and I decided to break up because I knew that he wasn't my husband. I loved him, but I knew he wasn't my life partner, and I wanted to meet my husband. And I knew that principle that nature abhors a vacuum, and that, you have to kind of let go of what's not right to open up to what is right. So Bob and I broke up, and not over anything bad, just because I wanted to meet somebody. Well, about a week after we broke up, Bob met a woman and fell in love. And she was a friend of mine. Her name is Holly, and that's the real name. And they fell in love. And now I didn't want to be with Bob, but I certainly didn't want Bob to be with somebody else, especially that quickly. And we lived in this very small town that you and I also lived in. And she lived around the corner from me. And I used to have to drive home
Ouch.
a different way so I wouldn't see his car in front of her house in the morning. And during that time, I would call it the dark night of the soul. I felt as though I had been stabbed in the heart. And it wasn't anything really, Bob didn't do anything wrong, but I think it stirred up some very deep, deep old pain, perhaps, as I say, from another lifetime, even because it didn't make any sense. And
Right.
that pain went on and on. And finally, maybe a few months into having that pain, and I was really out of it. I was pretty non-functional even. One day, Holly knocked at my door, and I opened it up, and she was the last person I wanted to see, but she said, Marci, you've got to get over this. And so she said, I'm coming in. And I invited her in, we sat down and she said, I want you to do two things. Number one, you're only focusing on what's not working. And you have so much good in your life. And I want you to promise me that you will, for the next 21 days, do a gratitude practice and write down 5 things a day you're grateful.
Nice.
And this was well before gratitude was even a thing.
Right,
This was
right.
like predated that.
89, right? Long time ago.
1987.
87.
And
Okay.
so I promised her I would do that. And she said, and number 2, you need a support system. And we are going to form a women's group. And I'm like, this is the woman I'm so jealous of. And we're going to form a women's group. So we in fact did, of 6 women. And I'm still, dear friends with all of them. One of them is our mutual dear friend, Carol. And I was in that women's group for about 15 years. And a year after this all happened with Bob, I ended up sitting in the front row at Bob and Holly's wedding. I was just last year was at their daughter's wedding. And they're very, very dear friends of mine. And that's just, so that advice of gratitude and the support group was great. However, that pain in my heart continued until 2003.
Wow.
And it became so bad. Sometimes I would go to a doctor and say, what's wrong with my heart? And they couldn't find anything. And then I met a spiritual teacher, a guide, who considered himself a subtle body mechanic. He could see your energy system, and he could see that I had a blockage at my heart center, my heart chakra, and that I didn't have enough energy or kundalini to break through that cap. And that's what was causing the pain.
Wow.
And he gave me a practice. In the first 5 minutes of doing that practice, I saw this light. I felt this energy going up through my body. I saw this light everywhere. Mother Mary appeared to me. I know I'm getting a little ooga booga woo woo. I'd never had that before. And the pain in my heart went away 95%. And that was probably the biggest spiritual breakthrough that I've had. And so for me, it was.
Wait. I want to ask you a quick question.
Yes.
When you saw the light, when you saw Mary, when all that was happening, did something else shift inside of you?
Everything shifted. Everything shifted. That energy breaking through, it's called the Kundalini, breaking through the barrier at the heart center, just shifted everything for me. I started feeling like I was being completely taken care of in life, that I was being loved. This heaviness, this pain, this contraction that I had lived with my whole life actually dissipated. And so I give gratitude to that pain that had led me for so long to search out a solution, to search out. And for me, I needed a guide. Yeah. I think we all need guides. We all need teachers and different kinds of guides at different stages in our life. And I know you agree with me on that.
Well, yeah, I've been having a guide for a long time, 30 some years now.
Yeah. And so that, to me, if you were to ask me what is the most important thing for our breakthroughs, it's sticking with it. It's having faith and knowing that there are breakthroughs on the other side. And that, as you said, life is for me. So those adversities are there for my greatest good, that life loves me, and that I can find people to support me in my journey of spiritual awakening.
Very beautiful. I love that. And I also wanted to just point out that when it wasn't really so much, I think, in my experience, I'm projecting my experience onto you, so much about what you saw, the light, the Mary, but what you experience is I'm intrinsically lovable.
Yes.
Happiness is within me.
Yes.
As I express myself, those qualities are enlivened.
You are exactly right. Thank you for clarifying that, because that is really what happened. It wasn't the outside stuff. It was this, I am okay. I am love. I am really, I felt
I'm taken
released.
care of was what you said, which I love,
Yeah.
which means, loving presence is here for me. That's like really a longer way of saying life is for me. It's like loving presence is here, embracing me, supporting me, guiding me, right? And that's what happens. And that's how we get happier. So I know you have to go soon. So,
No, I'm here with you. I'm
okay.
loving this. I love getting to be with you always.
Yeah, well, it's such a nice and beautiful conversation. And what you're telling us is so, I think, relatable. And so many people have this burden in one way or another of, I maybe get what I want, but I'm not still happy. And I mean, thank God that you didn't end up chasing the carrot until you were 95, thank goodness it happened when you were in your what, late
I
30s,
was 40.
40.
Yep, I was.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to say about happiness and your spiritual connection?
I do want to say that the spiritual connection is so important. It is, as I said, I think it's the most important thing.
Yeah,
And those other elements are also important. You and I both know lots of people who spent lots and lots of time meditating and have not dealt with their emotional
right.
issues in life, or have not dealt with their physical situation, or
Their
perhaps their
subconscious
financial.
mind.
They what?
Subconscious mind, the thing
The
that's
subconscious
that
mind.
we're
That's
not
right.
worthy.
The spiritual journey often is, I think people think of it as the upper chakras, as
Yeah,
the, and it's not, we
no.
are here to be embodied presences on this planet. So we have to deal with all of the energies, the root chakra and the second chakra and the third chakra and the heart, of course.
Yeah, and another way of saying that is we have to deal with the bad stuff that's happened to us.
Yes, that's right.
and
And
and and bad stuff happens to everybody because this is school. You given the curriculum, and the curriculum is, how do you for me, how do you feel good about yourself and know that you're an expression of the divine when people are pointing and laughing at you? Like, how do you do that? So
well, Peg, I just want to really, really say that what you've done and how you've dealt with your life is such an inspiration to me. I feel like we are in this life school and we have this curriculum and we've got our classmates, and I am so glad you've been sitting in the desk next to me all of these many, many years,
well,
because I've gotten to see, just how you have used your life and your adversity to really step it up to spiritual awakening. And
well, Marcy, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. And I want to just sort of tip my hat to you and say, for someone who had achieved so much success, you could easily have stopped there.
mm,
But you have both manifested enormous outer success, as we heard about, and they haven't seen your home, how incredibly beautiful and gorgeous it is. Not just a comfortable home, a beautiful home, an incredibly gorgeous home Marcy has. Been there many times, and I'm always just like walking around. I am in an art museum right now, and outer success, and you also have gone for inner success, and you've done that in such a beautiful way, in the way that you show up with so much love and kindness and generosity, and your wisdom that you share about the miracle zone. Like, this is what we're talking about on this podcast, even though I don't use that word much, which is making that transition that is a miracle from feeling maybe separate to feeling connected. That would be the bottom
yes.
line of what I really feel is the miracle in life.
I couldn't agree with you more. That is the ultimate, is feeling connected to all of life, to
Yeah.
feeling that you are one. We are one with all of life. And that it is
Yeah.
as Einstein said, the most important question we can ask is this a friendly or benevolent universe? And people who are truly happy will say yes.
Yes.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is life loves me. And I know life loves me because life brought me you.
Well, yes, my list is very long, and so is yours.
That's right.
So, I just want to remind everybody that a lot of what we're talking about in this thing is building resiliency, and I'm going to be giving a workshop on resiliency called "From Resilient." So, what is it? From more resiliency for more joy. So, you'll be getting some information about that. And before we wrap up,
Wait, let me just say something. Peggy, You are the walking embodiment of resiliency and joy. And so I know that everyone can learn from you about that. And I urge people to learn from truly a master that you
Thank
that
you.
you are.
Thank you, love. So, anything else you want to, last thoughts, anything?
Yes, let me just share one last thought because I'm often asked, isn't this all selfish? You know, what about the world? The world is falling apart and all you're thinking about is your own spiritual growth. And I believe that it's the least selfish thing that we can do
Thank
is
you.
to care for our own awakening. And the reason is that when we are happier, when we are more filled with light, we impact the world. And there's a Chinese proverb that sums it up that I love to share with people. And it goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in this world. And my prayer and my wish for every single one of us is that we know that light in our own souls. And through that, we help create more peace here on this planet.
And that is why we are here today to talk about this. Marci, that's such a beautiful ending that to really put it in perspective of what we're really talking about here.
Mm,
Yes. So thank you, my beloved
thank you.
teacher, my friend, and my everything. And everybody else, sayonara, see you later, and chime in next week. And we will be doing another amazing adventure in from adversity to awakening. So long, everybody.